Hello everybody, Tyler here. We're going to do a series of beginner guides. This one I've decided to call Macromanagement, and it's anything outside of the dungeon. This game is kind of split into two different type of games. One is when you're inside the dungeon, you'll be able to manipulate orbs, do combos, and do a bunch of damage. And then the other game is actually managing your account. There are so many factors that go into managing your account. Now this guide is more for the beginners, but for those advanced users, maybe if you stay tuned, you'll find some tips that you didn't know about before. When you're first starting the game, building your rank is very important because it increases your maximum stamina, your maximum team cost, and the amount of friends you can have. At rank 67, you'll have the maximum amount of friends you can have of 50. The best dungeon to farm for rank experience is Tower of Giants. And the best dungeon in that is Dragons of the Tower. It gives you the most experience per stamina spent, and on the weekends the stamina cost decreases in half. So I think on the weekends you can farm this dungeon non-stop up to rank 90. A good rank to aim for is 120 because your friends list kind of doubles. Let's load up Dragons of the Tower, and if you look at my friends list, next to the rank is a 1 and a 2. This indicates their primary or second team. So when you reach rank 120, you'll have this 1 and 2 at the top of your screen, and the 1 indicates the primary team you're using. So if I'm going to my Haku team, I'm going to push back here. My primary team is now Haku, and my friends can use Haku, and the secondary team will be Ra or whatever's in my first team slot. So it's a good idea to, when you reach rank 120, to have two different leaders out at the same time. If I'm going to use Ra as my primary team, so I highlight it and push back, it's my primary team now. My friends can only use Ra, so if I'm going to use Ra for a while, I'll switch to maybe Haku or Zhuge Liang so other people in my friends list can use it, so I can build PAL points to roll for. So here's my primary team and my secondary team. It's good to avoid using your first slot as your primary team because, I mean, if you do that and go back to edit team, Haku is my first and second leader, so friends who are trying to use me will only be able to use Haku. Managing your friends list is also important. You don't want to have friends who don't play on your friends list because you can't use them when you're playing when you're entering a dungeon. So let's clean mine. I haven't cleaned mine in a while. I'm going to go to my friends list and click on change order, and I'm going to go to played. When you go to the bottom of the list, you can see all the players that haven't logged in a while. He hasn't logged in for 22 days, and that means I can't use him. So it would be a waste to be in my friends list. I'm going to delete him from my friends list, and I mean, it's up to you how long they haven't played to delete them. Some people, they demand people play every day. I'm not really like that. This guy hasn't played in 15 days. I'm just gonna remove him. Half a month is quite a while. So that makes it so I've freed up some space. I don't have to extend my friends list, and I can add new friends that play on a regular basis so I could use them when I'm playing in a dungeon. I like to have Ra available for my friends to use at all times, and that's how I manage my team. Because I have some space in my friends list, I like to fill it up with more Ra friends. The resource that I like to use is puzzledragonx.com. So you can go on, log in, make an account, and then you go to friend finder at the top, and I'd like to add Pure Light Sun Deity Ra. Let's go down to P. I have to sort it by names. Next, I'll go to main leader only and search. Then I could look at all the Sun Deity Ra's to play with. I actually have 10 in my friends list, but yeah, you could go through this and find just a bunch of friends to add, and you'll go to your game and you'll add them, and hopefully they'll add you. It's helpful to have the leader you're adding as your primary team, so when they see who is adding you and they see that it's another Ra, then they'll be like, okay, I'll add you to the list. Another tip I recommend is to favorite your monsters. You go to monster and monster box. I have it sorted by favorites, and you can see all the monsters at the top. These are the monsters I don't want to accidentally feed to another monster. Because if you go to power up Fusion and you're powering up Valkyrie, if the monster is not favorited, they can definitely be eaten. So I have this Strawberry Dragon I need to put into a favorites. Because it's not in favorites, I can accidentally eat this guy, and I definitely don't want to do that. I want to save my Strawberry Dragon. So let's go down to the Strawberry Dragon, add to favorites, and now I cannot accidentally feed him. My buddy accidentally ate his Hanzo, and he was hurting for a long time. So don't make that mistake. For the newer accounts, I highly recommend people farm for Echidna. This card right here. She is easily farmable, and her active is so useful on so many different teams. The skill is Menace, and it delays enemies' next attack by 3 turns, and you can use these 3 turns to heal, or to do damage, or to build your other cards' actives while in the dungeon. Let's look at places to find Echidna. If I go switch here and look for Echidna. I guess we don't want that one, huh? Let's go down here and look for the basic type. You're going to want to find a bunch of Nagas so you can boost the maximum turn to a minimum of 10. And these are the dungeons you can farm for Echidna. So she's very easy to find, but there is a specific dungeon especially for Echidna, for you to farm Echidna. I think it's one of these, Scarlet Snake Princess. When this dungeon is out, you'll have the ability to farm her, and I highly recommend that all accounts have Echidna on their team or in their monster box. Another tip for beginners: if you're planning to use your stones to roll in the random egg machines, only roll during godfests, please. Sometimes it's tempting to roll during a carnival, but I can assure you it's a trap. Don't do it. I've done it before, and it was a poor decision on my part. So right now we have a Harvest Carnival. It's at 3 times the rates, and you can have the opportunity to roll these really cool monsters. I'd really like a Weejass and a Hanzo. I don't have Hanzo, but he's very important for dark teams. Also, we have these other random egg machines. Right now we just had the DC Comics random egg machine. I don't recommend you roll these unless you're willing to spend a lot of money. A lot of these specialized random egg machines have really, really good cards in them, but they're at a reduced rate, and you won't get very many golden eggs from these types of machines. For example, for me, I really, really wanted a dark and blue Batman, and it took me very many stones to roll for one. So unless you're willing to throw down the stones, try to avoid these when you're first starting out. Only stick to godfests. Once you've developed your own team and your play style, and you're really comfortable with the types of cards you're playing with, for me, I like playing with Ra, Haku, and Zhuge Liang. Once you have those monsters that you plan to play for a while, then it's important to expand that friend list. You can go here to the shop, I believe, and you can increase the maximum number of friends on your list. And I always thought it would be a waste to use my stones, my precious stones, to maximize my friends list, but you have no idea how helpful it is. Right now mine is at 200 because I have 3 main leaders, but when you expand to 100 friends, 100 maximum friends, it just becomes so much easier to find friends. I never run out of friends. When I was at 50 friends, then I always had to switch back and forth between leaders. But when you maximize that friends list, it's just, you don't have to worry about running out of friends at all. When you're at a point in Puzzle & Dragons where you are starting to farm for evolution materials, for example, dragon seeds, keepers, and masks, or some skill ups. Right now I'm farming for some Mei skill ups. It's a good idea to expand your monster box. I don't think there's ever a time when you have too much space. Before, I was sitting at 550 on my last video, but now I'm at 672. I can clear it up a little because I have been doing a lot of King of the Gods. I have a lot of plus eggs that I can consolidate, but I also need to find some evolution materials so I can evolve this guy to feed to Mei Mei. So once you start trying to farm, when you start farming for materials, then it is a good idea to spend stones for an expanded monster box, because it's pretty frustrating to be limited to only maybe 5 available spaces when you have so many monsters favorited. When you're working on skilling up monsters, you have to make sure that you only do it during events where you have 2 times a chance to skill up, and it'll tell you when you go to power up fusion. So right now there's an event going on where I can evolve or skill up Mei Mei and Sasuke. So if I grab Sasuke and I add these little tree guys, where are they? They look like broccoli or something. Here we go. Make sure you have the same skill. This guy doesn't need an evolution. Right now we have ninja art water to wood. This guy has the same thing. And I think it doesn't matter if you level or if you feed 1 or 5 at a time. I think each monster has about a 20% chance to skill up. And because I have 2 Sasukes, I will have to farm quite a bit of these little guys to max out both the Sasukes of mine. But make sure you only feed them during a 2-time skill up. Otherwise, I think it's like 1 out of every 10 you feed. If you're working on leveling up some of your monsters, a good monster to farm for that I did a long time ago was farming for Pengdras. So you'll run into Pengdras in a couple of different dungeons. They appear in technical dungeons, but also the Pengdra village. And these Pengdra villages, these hunt for Pengdra dungeons, they show up every once in a while. If you go to the main puzzledragonx.com, it works for US servers and European versions of the game. So you can go here and you can have like a different schedule, different list of dungeons available. Right now the Eco collab's going on in the UK, but right now we're doing the Arboreal encounter. You'll have these specific schedules that show up, and sometimes you'll run into the Pengdra hunt, and you can farm for those. You can also farm for these jewel dragons to level up your monsters, and you should make sure you feed the element of the same color so you can get extra experience boosts out of it. So I'm group A, and this will appear at 1:30 p.m. PST. Make sure you check this list, and then you can farm for jewel dragons or Pengdras to level up your monsters. Nowadays, in my Puzzle and Dragons, actually I farm King of the Gods quite regularly. This one right here, Starlight Sanctuary King of the Gods, and this is the one that gives you the most experience per stamina, and that's how I've been building my rank so quickly. I just have a bunch of the monsters that drop from here, and I don't actually feed them in an efficient way. I kind of just feed them straight up. So I get these at level 10 and I just start feeding them to, for example, Sasuke. And that's how I've been leveling up recently. I don't really do the jewel dragons anymore, and I don't really do Pengdras, and I think this method is okay because they've released an extra tier on the coin dungeon, so you can farm for a lot more coins. Right now I'm at 25 mil, and I don't think I'm very worried about feeding so many low-level monsters to high-level monsters, because you can just generate so much gold very easily. For a lot of the low-level monsters, let's say if we go to Evo Fusion and we want to level or evolve some of these guys, you're going to need a lot of these lits, these little guys. They're kind of annoying to farm for on Fridays. That's one of the ways you can farm them, but a more efficient way of farming these little lits, actually, if you go to dungeon, you go to the very bottom, the dungeon of the respective elements, so light, dark, wood, water, and fire. These guys are actually really good for farming those little lits. Friday dungeons, they're only useful if you need all the colors, but when you need one specific color, then these little dungeons are better. So once I generate a lot of chasers, I'm going to go to the Dungeon of Wood and I'm going to farm any one of these. I think the last one is more efficient stamina wise, but these dungeons are better for farming those lits, and also certain times of the day these dungeons will be for half the stamina, so you can get more bang for your buck. But make sure if you're looking for lits, farm for this one. Let's say you're looking for doublets. I'm going to go to Evo Fusion and I'll show you what I mean. Let's go to Sonia. She might have a doublet. Okay, so these guys, you can farm them on Friday dungeon. It's pretty good. Make sure that it's during like a 2x drop to give you the best chances. But these guys, they actually drop from King of the Gods, so I don't worry about farming for these guys. These ones, they are what I do is I farm the Friday dungeon. I don't farm this dungeon over here. So underneath Starlight Sanctuary, there is, let's see, Vesta Cave, Frozen Soil, Mars Crater, and Jupiter, and Junos. Those guys actually drop those dub monsters. So if you're looking to be a little bit more efficient in farming dub monsters, you can use these dungeons to farm for those monsters, and it's very helpful to farm during a 1.5 event. Another evolution material that I farm for differently, let's grab one of these guys. I think, yes, okay, so these light knights, these Keeper of Light and the Keeper of Dark, they're actually kind of a pain to farm on Tuesday because they don't have an element for them. You kind of have to find them within the red, blue, green, and rainbow dungeons. What I do actually, I don't know if it's efficient, but I go to the technical dungeons here, and you go to the Mythic Stone Dragon Cave, and you can actually farm for the purple, and I think the rainbow one has the light version. Let me see, Rainbow Stone. Let's switch here. Yeah, so the Keeper of Light's here. So on Mondays, you have a guaranteed chance of finding these keepers for 40 stamina. So I don't know if that's more helpful for you guys if you're looking specifically for a certain type of keeper. But this dungeon is what I kind of do if I really want, if I'm in heavy demand for the purple ones. I've recently farmed for the purple chasers, and I needed a bunch of Keeper of Dark, so I actually did this dungeon quite a bit. It takes quite a strong team to farm for this one, but it's a high level of drop. It's like every turn. That's about all the information I have for the macro management guide. I hope these tips have been very helpful for you guys. The next beginner guide will be on micromanagement, or what we can do within the dungeon. So there'll be tips for beginners to improve their combo count, or the way they play their cards, because some cards actually have to be played a little differently. Anyway, the next couple of guides will be on the macro management, and I've been given a request to make a guide on plus eggs. So I've left it out of this guide on purpose on how to use plus eggs, and that will be in a later video. But I'd like to let you know that developing your account takes a lot of time. I've been playing for over a year and a half, and the most important thing is that you're having fun playing Puzzle and Dragons and manipulating those orbs. But until next time, guys, I hope you have fun, and we'll see you soon.